Todd here from T&A Arms and Ammo. Quick question for you. How do you keep your AR-15 with all the features that you love and enjoy without having to register here in California? Today I'm going to show you how to install the Cross Armory Quick Pins, Safe Mag, and Pin Pal on this LWRC AR-15. So for the ease of this video, we've already done our safety check and removed the upper, which will not be needed while we install the Safe Mag and the Quick Pin set. Our next step is going to be removing and setting aside the old bullet button and magazine catch, as they will no longer be used on this firearm. Bullet button actually sells a tool for removing the bullet button. I went to the hardware store and I got a number 14 safety spanner and ground it to fit. It's just a little bit stronger than the aluminum tool, but you can use whichever you like. Please be cautious if you have a Smith & Wesson M&P Sport. They do use red Loctite on the Smith & Wessons, and you may need heat to break up the Loctite. Our next step will be opening up the Cross Armory packages. We've already done that for the Safe Mag. It comes with the tools needed, so here are the two Allen keys that will be needed, one for attaching the screw to the anchor and the other one for adjusting the Safe Mag as needed. Also comes with the anchor screw, the anchor which will go in where your normal magazine button would go, and then the Safe Mag, which will be on the other side of the firearm and works as a reverse mag catch to hold the magazine in place. I'm going to go ahead and remove the magazine so it'll be a little more clear on what's happening with these. So the first thing I'd like to start with is mentioning that the castle nut on this buffer tube was broken loose off camera. Sometimes they can be extremely tight, sometimes they can have Loctite on them, or in the case of this LWRC, this QD attachment actually has anchor screws that must be loosened. I had longer Allen wrenches, so I had to remove the grip. I was a little perplexed to see that the grip screw is actually 4 millimeters, and for an American-made gun, that's kind of rare to have anything metric. You will notice that it is hard to get out of the receiver, and it does not feel good going in. That's probably due to the fact that the receiver is all inch and standard. So back to installation. Next, we're going to go ahead and remove the stock. And the first thing I like to do is remove the buffer and a buffer spring. While this is apart, this is a great time to check out the condition of your buffer spring, possibly upgrade it. Maybe look into the JP Enterprises silent capture spring if you don't like the noise you get as your AR cycles. Not necessary, but a nice upgrade. As we remove this castle nut from the buffer tube, as we back it off, you'll have a spring that's going to want to shoot out for your detent spring. That's okay. You're going to remove that and set it off to the side. It's not going to be reused with the Cross Armory Quick Pins. As you start to back off your tube, you should hold some sort of thumb or other finger over your buffer detent so it doesn't shoot out. That will be reused. You do not want to lose the detent or the spring. And simply remove the buffer tube from the receiver. Now you have a couple of options when installing your quick pins. First off, if it's something like this LWRC quick disconnect end plate, you may want to remove that. We're going to reinstall it because it came with the rifle. However, I am 100% sure this is going to interfere with collapsing the stock all the way. You may want to go to a standard GI end plate. As you pick up your receiver, you're going to notice you still have your rear takedown pin in place. It is being held in place by the detent. Quick tap and the gun should come out. There's that guy. Let's get the detent out. You can set that part off to the side as well as the rear takedown pin. They will no longer be used in the rifle. You will install the quick pins to the rear and simply start to install your buffer tube again. Once you have this threaded, you will stop and you must insert this steel rod. This is the alignment rod that will make sure your quick pins are working properly and not binding up with your upper receiver in place. Just simply push this all the way through and continue continue to tighten up your buffer tube. You will have to reinstall your buffer tube detent and spring, putting the spring in first, detent on top, push and hold down, and simply continue to screw in your buffer tube. Once in place, you'll push your end plate back in place. As we're installing the buffer tube, you will start to tighten up your castle nut, and as it starts to become tight, you will check for pin removal. It should be easy to remove. You can see this is still kind of stiff. At this point, we're going to want to start using these shims, so let me get those out. I'm going to start with the 10,000th shim, just because I've seen that being one of the most popular ones being used. You just peel the tape back gently, as the shims will come right out. Set your tape off to the side. You simply install the shim in between the receiver and the quick pins. Leave the tab in place until fully installed. As you snug this up, this rod definitely is much smoother. At this point, I will pull it out and check it on each side. And it's very smooth. Then you may tighten your stock nut, recheck. I think these are going to be fine. It's still smooth from each side. Next, you'll reinstall the pins into the main body. With these pins, I like to use the provided Allen key. Hold that spring down a little bit while I hand thread the screws back in. Once they're past the spring, then you can snug these up. You don't run them all the way down, just make sure they're flush with the front of the main body. You'll turn over and repeat. Check function. They seem to be very smooth, operating as advertised. Don't forget to install your buffer and buffer spring. And then time for a quick check. At this point, I will reinstall my upper. Insert your magazine, and as you can see, this is working very smoothly. Let's see if we can get this to drop without adjustment, and it works perfectly. So the way this guy works is, as you install your magazine, it'll capture and hold it, and then as your upper pivots out of place, you'll notice the safe mag will also move. As it moves, it'll release the magazine and it'll naturally drop out. It will not take a magazine while it is open, as this is a reverse mag catch. So you must close your upper, and then you can reinsert your new fresh magazine, and you are ready to go. Now that we know our Cross Armory quick pins and safe mag are functioning properly, the last step will be to remove this tab on the back of the shim, which is extremely easy. I like to re-separate the upper and the lower, or at least pivot it out of the way, as we can see here. And now you literally just work this tab back and forth until it snaps off. Just like that. After it snaps off, if you like, you can actually disassemble, take the shim out, sand the top of it, but there are no sharp edges that do protrude. Now we're ready to install our pin pal. This is not a tool-free installation. No tools are provided with the pin pal. I did retain my Allen key from the quick pins, and I will use that to remove my front pivot pin. Also, I will be using some parallel jaw pliers to press our bushing in. To start, let's separate our upper and our lower. This is the Allen key that was used in installing our quick pins. These will be my parallel jaw pliers, which I have added masking tape to reduce the chance of scratching the firearm. This will be the pin pal. It is a 3-piece set. You must unthread it. And then pull the other half off. Next will be this little piece of tape, which you just sort of break off. Those will be our 3 pieces. Next, we do need to remove this front pivot pin. If you've ever played with your AR, you may have noticed a small hole in the front. That is for simply inserting a tool, pushing the detent and spring, and then you may turn this pivot pin. Remove the tool, and as you lift this out, the detent and spring may shoot across the room, so it's nice to have your hands over it. And you heard it pop there. This is our detent. Our spring is still in there. Sometimes these springs don't want to come out if the rifle's a little dirty. That has been removed. And now we will bring our upper into frame. The way the pin pal is going to work is this bushing is going to be pressed into your upper receiver. After it is pressed into your upper receiver, the one pin will go through your upper and your lower. The other side will thread on. This is not a permanent modification. You can unthread this anytime. This bushing is simply going to be a bearing and is going to take all of the wear and brunt off of your upper receiver. The way to install this is literally going to take your upper, put this on the side. Sometimes they push in a little like that one and it'll hold in place. Next, you will use your parallel jaw pliers and start pressing. I'm using parallel jaw pliers. You can use a punch. Just make sure your upper is well supported and tape any parts you do not want scratched. Once you feel like this is level and flush on both sides, the installation of the bushing is complete. Next, you will simply reassemble the upper and the lower. You would take your anchor, push it through. That is in place. Next, you will simply turn over the rifle and screw on the other end. And this should simply thread in place. That will complete the installation of the pin pal. And that's how you install the cross armory setup on your AR-15. This is how it should function when you're done. After your final assembly, you should Loctite all your screws just to make sure they don't lose adjustment. It's that simple. If you'd like more information on the products used in this video, please click on the links below. I want to say thanks again for watching. We appreciate you watching. If you enjoy watching, please do us a favor, like, comment, or better yet, please subscribe. I'd like to give out special thanks to my wife Amy. Without her, none of this would be possible. Also, I'd like to give special thanks to Across Armory, Wes, Savannah, and Richard. Just a great group of people, great company with great products. Richard, thanks again for coming up here. We're really enjoying our AR-10 prototype quick pins out before anybody else can get them. We'd also like to thank Henry for letting us butcher up his rifle here, and a special thanks to Gun Digest for helping out and making this all possible and posting this for us.